on hiring and firing all these managers since 2013 to more than £85 million. None of them able to replace the great Sir Alex Ferguson. Sir Jim figured a new sporting director would be a solution. They paid Newcastle a couple of £1 million to hire Dan Ashworth, but he lasted only 5 months. Accounts this week showing that dismissal cost £4 million. And then there's the £9 million that's been spent on 250 redundancies throughout the club. And staff without the lavish football salaries have been warned of more cuts to come. Even former players have had their funding slashed, and ticket prices have risen mid-season to £66 for club members, with no concessions for children or pensioners. Is it worth all the anger to generate a couple £1 million more when the club revealed yesterday that they're set to make £650 million this season? But this tells you about the state of the club. They've made 5 successive years of losses, over £370 million overall. They are losses United say are unsustainable, and they're warning about potentially breaching the Premier League's financial rules. How much are they missing Sir Alex Ferguson, winner of 13 Premier League titles? United haven't got close since his retirement. This is the record. Even when they were runners-up, they weren't really that close. And this season, they've lost 12 out of 25 matches. And that's despite blowing £1.7 billion in transfers in the last 12 years, way ahead of their rivals in net spend. And there's been £200 million on new players since Ineos arrived, but with little to show for it. Are they still the problem? The Glazers, as majority owners, they loaded debt onto the club. It's now standing at £730 million, and to service it has cost more than £1 billion, we discovered this week, in the last 2 decades. That's what still angers so many fans. So fans still want bigger changes, and they're not convinced Ineos can turn it around quickly. As for the petrochemicals conglomerate, in the last week, 2 credit agencies have even downgraded their outlook to negative, while Ineos are making cuts in other sporting investments in rugby and sailing. United is their clear sporting focus, and they want to build this: a new stadium potentially to replace Old Trafford. But can they rebuild a team at the same time to bring back those glory days? Ineos have a lot of convincing to show they're on the right path heading into year 2 at Manchester United. And Sir Jim needs to address those concerns about ongoing mismanagement as the mood worsens.
Where's the light at the end of the tunnel for United?
That May is 3 months away, I guess. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else as a Manchester United fan you cling to, because let's be honest, as kind of impotent as Manchester United have looked for some time, the only real game changer, consistent game changer within that dressing room has been Amad Diallo, and now he's up for the rest of the season. So you look at what's there, and you're left kind of scratching your head in frustration. I'm not sure where the difference is going to come. The one player of true quality in that current lineup, I guess you'd love to call it, would be Bruno Fernandes. But he's been a little bit inconsistent, and maybe you can blame the supporting cast for that. But whichever way, they're just no individuals that make a difference for them. So you're not sure who's going to be that difference.
It's difficult when you get a game on paper, because they've got 3 home games after this Everton game at Goodison, and they're normally, it's Man United, it's Old Trafford, it's like, okay, it's 3 points. How many are they going to score? But it doesn't work like that these days. So the league is finish as high as you can, and they're not going to get a European spot next season through the league. Now, there's still a Champions League spot up for grabs for the winners of the Europa League, and for some reason, usually just due to volume of cash, them and Spurs are the 2 favourites.
Yeah.
They'd be carrying my cash, doubt they'd be carrying yours. So next up for them, would you fancy Manchester United against any one of these possible 4 opponents? And we don't know who it is yet. Real Sociedad, Galatasaray, AZ Alkmaar, or Midtjylland?
Given what we've seen from Manchester United over the last couple of seasons, nobody holds any fear. And none of that 4 holds any fear in coming up against Manchester United, for all the reasons that we've just detailed about their lack of firepower, lack of true quality. Yes, Manchester United are still a big club, Old Trafford, I'm reluctant to say it's a difficult place to go, but they will get a big crowd. If they decide on the day, they can be noisy and maybe create somewhat of an atmosphere, but it just doesn't hold the kind of mystique or the flair that it once did as a football ground. So anybody coming to Manchester United right now, think they can write history.
Amad Diallo's the top scorer, and he's hurt. He's got 6. Bruno's got 5. So it's a case of where are the goals coming from? And look, there are some teams that 1 is enough because they can rely on their defence. Yeah. So A, where's the goals coming from? And B, is this a setup and a system that he swears by, Ruben Amorim? Does it work with the addition of only one kind of key player in the January transfer window to play at wingback?
Well, you only have to look at the game at Spurs for, I think, all the answers you need for that. 1, yes, Bruno Amorim is going to stick to the system that he believes in. He's not going to adjust, but then saying that, he's not under the pressure of needing a result, given that, he was only appointed a couple of months ago. So he can kind of stick to his guns and how he sees fit and knows that come next August, he will still be Manchester United manager, almost regardless of what happens between now and the end of May. Where the goals come from and their firepower and teams only needing 1. Again, look at Spurs. Spurs scored 1. And while you can make the argument that Vicario on the day was Spurs man of the match, I thought he made the saves that you would expect him to. And while I was sitting there watching that game, and while, yes, maybe I'm biased, but I have a feeling I'm not alone. Vicario was Spurs' outstanding player. At no point I felt a goal is coming here, even when Manchester United pressured late on and Spurs kind of dropped deeper and deeper because they're protecting this 1-0 lead. I sat there thinking, yeah, there's a 1-0. I maybe they could have scored, and maybe we all know how this game works. Things just kind of at times come from nothing. But at no point did I sit there thinking, yeah, Manchester United are banging on the door here, and they're about to score.
Given
sorry, Matt. I'll contrast that, and as I did on FC, because I think the same day or the next day was Liverpool Wolves. Liverpool had a 2-goal lead. Wolves scored, and Wolves came banging on the door. And I was watching that one and thought Wolves are going to score here any minute. And as we know, it turned out to be 2-1. I just made that point to contrast how kind of flat Manchester United were. And while, again, you know that a goal can a lot of times come from absolutely nowhere, I just never felt it in the way that I did Wolves at Anfield.
I always think in life, problem identification is easy. Solutions to problems are a lot harder. And it's easy to sit here and kick Man United when they're down. But look, if you want to do that on FC or Dan or whoever, I think it's a case of, for any team, I've got no skin in the game here. I want to see if there are solutions available. And it's tough when you don't have a transfer window. So what are the solutions and what's the best opportunity for Manchester United? Is it with the teams in and the teams already out, the FA Cup, where they've got Fulham next, or the Europa League, where they don't yet know their opponents?
I'm going to sit on the fence in this one, in that while, yes, the big boys, so to speak, are out of the FA Cup, and I think when we were discussing this last, we almost had Newcastle as the favourites. I mean, Newcastle have had their stumbles of late. They've